Ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to watch with you again. The channel is We Africa, where we put serious political events under a microscope and dissect them. Thank you for showing up. Thank you yet again. It's going to be an uphill task. The opposition is up against a thick concrete wall. The path to democracy is hilly, winding, and treacherous, and the rivers are crocodile infested. I'm not trying to frighten you, but rather warm you up so you brace yourself for the journey you have decided to undertake. Remember, forewarned is forearmed. Never underestimate the tenacious resolve of this king to cling on to power. Never underestimate his resolve to be on that throne forever. Never underestimate that. That throne is his life. Here is why I think the king is going to be extremely difficult to negotiate out of power. I mean, negotiate out of power. Maybe other means you can use, but negotiating out of power, this king, you are not going to be able to topple him out of a negotiation. 2001, he decreed that no man should take a wife below the age of 18. And later on, he violated his own decree by taking a 16-year-old girl for a wife. He had the freedom to do that because he is king. Although people complained, he kept his wife. People say that he sometimes kidnaps the woman he wants to marry, and that he sleeps around a lot with women who are not wives. I think the reason why he could be kidnapping women that he wants to marry is because he is tired of getting everything for free. So he tries to be normal and grab something at least from somewhere, and he does it the wrong way by kidnapping women and then maybe raping them.
Our ruler is King Mswati III. We still have a king as our ruler.
If you know your past, where you come from, you will know your future too. If you lose your past, I think you're no longer a human being because you no longer have that identity. So our identity, which is our traditions, plays a very important life in our society. In this country, there are many things. There is polygamy. There's also people who are married in the Western style. So it's a matter of that, or those people, you know, in whatever circumstances that they choose to live in this way. Otherwise, you know, those women who perhaps are concerned about how will their future be like, I think it will depend according to their partner. They will discuss and then they will come to some kind of arrangement that this is the life we're going to live. So there are no laws in this country which actually say that everyone must live in this way. It's a choice of individual to say, this is how I want to see things all my life.
No other man in this world, dead or alive, we surrounded at any given time by a lot of virgins around him. We surrounded with a pool of virgins around him so that he can select just one for a wife. Age is not a restriction. He can pick on anyone as long as it is his wish to pick on such a lady. It is such an indulgence that the king of Swaziland has no other match in this world in terms of getting women. Some people say that sometimes he really force some of them to come to him and become wives. I don't think that is very true because so much is at his disposal that he can pick for freely. And these ladies, these virgins will be willing to be married to the king because this king is a very powerful king. He's a king who exudes power. He's a very powerful man. So he can pick any lady that he wants. And these ladies cannot be wives until they have proven that they can bear children. So they are only integrated into his household as wives once they are pregnant. If they are not pregnant, they can be thrown out of the royal house. And initially they are treated as concubines, and if they prove that they cannot bear children, then they are thrown out of the royal family. to be married by other people who are willing to marry people who can't be children. Such is this disrespect for women for this Swati culture. It's a culture that disrespects women a lot. That a woman can only be treated with respect if she can bear children. If she can't, then she has to be cast away like a box of used crayons. The king is got a lot going on for him in this life. The lifestyle that he's living in Swaziland, it can't be matched by any other life that he can live afterwards. Where's the life that he can live when he is chased away from that throne, or even when he's negotiated into really surrendering the throne? He can't live the life that he's living today, even if they leave him with all the money that he has stolen offshore and there in Swaziland. You can take everything, we'll start afresh. He can't live the same lifestyle because right now he's living like a god, and he's behaving like one because he doesn't seem to show a lot of intelligence from his behavior. When I look at his behavior, I don't see any intelligence. I just see a man who is suddenly lucky to have a lot around him, but with not much thinking capacity. He's just thin-minded from what I can see from his behavior. Because if he was a smart guy, he wouldn't be faced with the situation that is facing him right now in Swaziland. He could have long foreseen that people cannot be treated like animals, but even animals sometimes they can jump at you because they will be so frustrated and angry that you've been yoking them for a long time and they've been accepting you and really agreeing to what you are doing to them. But there is always a time when the jackal will break that noose. That army getting a great chunk of the national budget is not an army for defending you against external enemies. It's an army that Mswati has been building up all along so that he would defend himself against the people in case there was an uprising, like what is happening now. That army is going to fight which external war against which country. It is an army that is getting paid and is getting a greater chunk, the lion's share of the national budget, because it is supposed to be rewarded for protecting him, and it will continually be used to protect him against you, the people. And you just watch and see, because I don't see any reason why you should be getting a greater proportion of the national budget when your country is not in any danger of fighting any external war against anybody. You will fight a war with South Africa or with Mozambique. I don't see that happening in the next foreseeable future. It won't happen. And Mswati is smart enough to make sure that the army is well provided for, because when the time comes like this one, he will need it to defend him against his enemies. And the enemies are you, the common people, are you, the people who are keeping everything running. And him, I don't think he has ever known how to work or to work for anything. He's just used to taking and taking and taking. King Mswati controls everything and wields so much power over everything. Who in his right sense would want to share that kind of power? Land is power, and King Mswati owns about 60% of Swaziland, making him the largest landowner in Africa. Around 70% of Swazis live on land owned by the king, which he can repossess at any time, land which they use daily. He is like a land baron or a warlord there in Swaziland. He is not like a king. Because a king would not behave like that. A king would hold the land in trust for the people, not for the people to stay there as squatters. And whenever he wants to move them, he moves them. That is really cruel stuff. What is more shocking is how he indulges his fancies, how he rewards his ego, how he satisfies his ego. Just when the country was plunging deeper into debt, Mswati bought his plane. Parliament voted against it, but the Prime Minister overruled Parliament and Mswati got the plane in 2011. Showing no respect for the people that he really rules, showing no respect for his subjects. He is a dandite or a blood-sucking monster. I don't know which of the two would properly define him. Swaziland is the only country in Africa with no freedom of association. He brought in a chief justice from Lesotho who decreed that no one could sue the king directly or indirectly. Lawyers went on strike for 3 months, and as a demonstration of his arrogance, he didn't remove the chief justice but bought more shares in MTN so that he could listen to their grievances. He could listen to their complaints and laugh at them in a way that he could find very accessible to their means of communication. He has houses and palaces scattered throughout the country. The Losita Royal Palace is his most luxurious and his prime residence. The Lizidzinzi Royal Palace is another of his very luxurious and most exclusive royal palaces. It is the residence of the Queen Mother and hosts Umhlanga and reed dance. There are more and all exude wealth and class. It's real luxury that speaks for itself. It's upmarket real estate, and he can improve and renovate all of them with state funds anytime he wants. He just has to say the figure and it will be done. In January 2004, he asked his government to spend 15 million on renovating and building royal houses and castles. There you have a real absolute leader, a real absolute monarch who doesn't have the sense to really govern with fairness. He's a moron placed on a throne, and is the luxury of ruling over some people because of birth advantage, not because he's smart enough to be a leader, not because he's smart enough to be a ruler, not because he's smart enough to be a king. He is not. Mswati is not that. He is not that because he is unrealistically and excessively overindulgent. In 2008, he chartered a plane for his 9 wives to go on an extravagant shopping spree in Europe. People demonstrated, but it didn't help because in the same year, he bought about 40 BMWs X5 just for carrying dignitaries to the stadium where he was going to celebrate his birthday and independence of his country. His powers are limitless. He has all powers of the state, and he has supreme executive authority over legislature and courts. He is the embodiment of all 3 arms of the state: executive, legislature, and judiciary, which under normal circumstances should be free and independent of each other. He is law unto himself, and he is a very, very powerful leader. And if there is anything that he has more than anything else, is the power, and it is the thing that he would most want not to lose. He won't want to lose the power that he has. And because there are very few people on this earth who have the power that, with the same kind of power that King Mswati has. Wherever he goes, the red carpet is rolled. This is a very important and special person. More special than most normal people that we know. Most normal, special people that we know. It looks as if the king has deep pockets while he can't spare anything for the suffering people. He has a soft spot for Rolls Royce. In 2019, he bought 19 Rolls Royce for himself, his 15 wives, and for his mother. He owns a fleet whose size is a closely guarded secret. However, we know he owns a Rolls Royce Phantom which costs about $450,000, and he also owns a pricey Bentley Flying Spur which costs almost $250,000. Bentleys are popular with royalty, just like they are popular with Queen Elizabeth there in England. He also has at least 20 Mercedes-Benz and has at least 120 BMWs, which include a BMW 760 Li, which costs $156,000. Of special mention is also a Rolls-Royce Cullinan. The Cullinan was customized to the king's intended upgrades and modification. The guy is taste and owns an assortment of very expensive cars, in direct contrast to his subjects who own almost nothing. Who in his right state of mind would want to live a life like this, where he actually lives like a god? He lives like a god. Mswati lives like a god. He doesn't live like a normal human being or a human being. In a sea, he lives like a god in a sea of poverty, in a sea of have-nots, and he doesn't even notice it. The size of his fleet of cars is so embarrassingly large That's why he has banned the photographing and filming of his cars. In addition to all this, the king owns 2 jets, a $20 million McDonnell Douglas MT-87, and has recently upgraded this to an Airbus 300, which is more modern and state-of-the-art, which he purchased from Taiwan China Airlines. It is rumored that 400,000 development aid promised to Swaziland was withheld due to the purchasing of this aeroplane or this jet by the king. UNICEF had warned him about the consequences, but he went ahead and purchased it anyway for his 50th birthday. He didn't care about the people, that the people were going to suffer because some money which was meant for them was going to be held if he continued, and went ahead to buy this jet. He went on and bought the jet because what he feels and what he wants, the pleasures that really excite his fancies, are more important to him than the suffering or the welfare of his own people. This is just the picture of the king that you get, that he is a person who is just so selfish. He doesn't care about anybody. He just cares about himself, and there being in Swaziland and getting all the benefit because he's the king is just an advantage that he cherishes because it gives him certain privileges. Otherwise, he has nothing to do with the Mswati people and their suffering or their well-being. He is such a heartless, cold-hearted king. He also owns a lot of cattle and goats and other related wealth. The greatest asset the king owns is power, absolute power. He controls everything with nobody checking, correcting, or limiting his decisions. The greatest weakness of absolutism, which is the system under which he survives, is that it thrives through dominance, threat of punishment, and violence. It is tyrannical. I'm just about to end this video, but what I wanted to show you is the kind of lifestyle that the king lives, the kind of advantages, the kind of privilege that he enjoys, the kind of power that he wields in Swaziland, and that it will be very difficult for you to overthrow him through negotiations. Try as much as you can to negotiate and come to power, or rather make him relinquish his power peacefully. That won't happen. He will just play delaying tactics. He will just play games with you because he thinks that right now what the king thinks that these demonstrations are just caused by a few rogue elements in the society. He doesn't think that all the people are really in consensus that he should be going. He thinks that there are some people who really love him, and thinks that a greater proportion of Swaziland still loves him. That's where he is mistaken. That's why he's calling for CBI. He wants to try and coax and pat people on the back so that they will like him yet again. He is so delusional, so confused is this king that he doesn't even see the real picture. The fact that he never really lived among the people and see their suffering really is the reason why he can't really identify with them. He can't sympathize with them. He can't put himself in their shoes to see what kind of misery they are going through. So he still thinks that a lot of people out there still love him, which is why he's calling for CBI, which is why he said everyone should be consulted. He thinks if you go through consultation, he's going to win, like what has happened before, that he has always tried to do some consultations of some kind and he has come up a winner. He thinks that that time is still there. He still has time to do that. He doesn't realize that times are changing. Time is catching up with him. Really, the time for doing that, the time for playing games might be over if he's not careful. If he's not careful, he might lose everything that he is. Because from what I can see, that the opposition is asking that he vacates office and they want him to be sued for all the crimes that he has committed. And that leaves him with what? He's stripped of all these powers that he has. And that's why I think he's going to fight and fight until his last breath. He's going to fight until his bones are ached from his body. That is how strong he feels about this kingship, that he will hold on to it and fight for it, and he will use all the tactics in the book to try and delay or even try to stop the opposition from taking over and bring democracy to Swaziland. It's a game that you should be ready to play with him so that you win. You play against him so that you win. Otherwise, he's going to outwit you. He's a king who is going to thrive on delays and delay you and make sure that he delay, and through those delays maybe nothing will be accomplished. Let me end this video here. There's a lot for me to say. I think the rest of what I want to say, I will say it in the next video, because there is a lot here that many people might not see. But what I've realized, that some people are already realizing that the king is going to play very hard to really get out of that power, get out of that position that he has. The opposition, some of the opposition leaders and some of the opposition members are beginning to realize that this game that they've already started playing is going to take, maybe they'll play it for quite some time before they can win it. They have to play it right. Otherwise, if they don't play it right, this king has everything to lose. He has everything to lose. And when you have everything to lose, sometimes you fight until the last breath. And maybe that is what is prepared to do. You can't really lose his family. You can't lose his life. You can't lose all those people that I've described here. He's not ready to fight.